Hello everybody, it's Mary with Stamps-N-Lingers, and it is Saturday night, which means it is time for a Facebook Live video. Sorry for the nauseating moving of the camera there, but I wanted to make sure everything was right. So let me just do a little checking off screen stage left to make sure that I'm actually transmitilating and not just, talking to myself, because that's weird. All right, hey Mary, how are you? I appreciate you joining. Alrighty, so this is the card that I gave you the sneak peek of. And this is the Kite Delight set. And I'm just going to tell you what, this is a flyover set if I've ever seen one. It isn't a bundle. It has no punch. It's just a darling little stamp set. And I suspect you've passed it by a few times. Hey, Karen. Hi, Rosie. Hi, Glenda. Hey, everybody. I appreciate y'all joining very much and spending part of your weekend with me. So Amy did a card with this last week or the week before. I don't know. It's all kind of running together for me. But it made me go back and take a second look. And I am actually quite glad that I picked it up because seriously, look how cute this card turned out. All right, especially given the addition of some of the free, I said that again, free, F-R-E-E, with a $50, yes, it was a pun. It was a really good one too, wasn't it? Ah, everybody laugh. Okay, ah. Hey, Marva. Especially when you combine it with the free Sunshine and Rainbows DSP, $50 purchase and you can get this DSP free. So if you have not done that yet, you've got until the 28th to get this added to your stash. And I promise you're going to want it, especially when you see what we can do with the Cloud Punch with it. All right. So this is a birthday card, always needing birthday cards. And here it's on the inside again. Very simple. There is a little fussy cutting because I had to paper piece these little bows because they were too cute not to. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got some of the cutting done ahead of time and some not because I want you to watch the cement dry. It's good to see how the sausage is made. Hey, Jean. Hey, Jaretta. Appreciate you guys joining. Hi, Lynn. All right, so let's go ahead. I have a piece of basic white cardstock here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it out like I plan to have it be, okay? If that makes sense. Like I plan to have it be when it is hooked on here. So this little piece is just going to sit right in the bottom of the card front, all right? Then I'm going to take my kite tail and in Tuxedo Black Memento ink, I love that this is a photopolymer set. That means you can really line stuff up good. I am going to stamp the card front and the DSP at the same time. Okay, so I'm going to hold the DSP in place. Actually, what I'm going to do first is move it when I touch it, and then I'm going to put it back in place. And if you had like a repositional tape runner that you wanted to use, you could absolutely use that to adhere it into place. But I'm just going to live on the wild side here. Just going to live on the wild side. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp right across that seam. Just like that. I'm going to hold it down a beat without rocking. Okay. And then I'm going to pick it up. And that is all I'm going to do with that for now. So let me set this aside, and then we'll get this adhered with some liquid glue. Hi, Pam. Appreciate you guys joining. Julie and Linda. It is a bright and happy card. I love it. Bright and happy is not really my jam, but I really like it. And I've also used Magenta Madness, which is not something I normally use. But it's the pink that goes with this DSP, so I'm trusting the Stampin' Up! Peoples. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put this on its own little piece of cardstock. Like that, and this is also Magenta Madness, duh. And then I'm going to adhere this right back in place, okay? And we're going to have a little gap, and I'm going to fix that little gap with my black Stampin' Right marker. Now, let me just say something about that. If you happened to work your tail, not off, but, your tail onto the, well, never mind. Okay, I'm sorry. Yep, you did miss it. It's a flyover set. It's very, very, very easy to miss it. Hey, Lenny, if you happen to stamp this so that one of those bows is directly over the seam, don't even bother filling in the tail. And I'm going to show you why in just a second. It's easy to see why, because it's going to be pieced. But mine did not, and so I'm just going to help this with a little bit of black Stampin' Right marker. You've perhaps heard me mention several times that if you have an ink pad, I highly recommend that you have the Stampin' Right marker and the refill to go with it. Okay, just buy them all at the same time so that you're ready to go. Okay, so that's done. Now I'm going to stamp my sentiment. Not that. That's not a sentiment. That is a die-cut cloud. All right, let's see. Here's our another year flies by happy birthday sentiment. And we're going to do it in Magenta Madness. I'm going to clear that mess off because, boy, did I get really jiggy with that. See, this is like wearing a white t-shirt for me, man. It's just begging for a smudge. All right, so I'm going to line that up right there. Give it a good hold without rocking it. Okay, and there we go. Okay, so that's a good image. If I wasn't happy with it, I would take my Magenta Madness marker and fix it. Yes, I would. Yes, I would. Okay, now we'll make us a kite. So in Tuxedo Black, I do not know. I do know why I closed that, because I was sure as shooting going to get it everywhere. So I'm going to take, this is my favorite kite, the one with the flowers, these flowery ones. And we're going to stamp that right there like that in Tuxedo Black. Set that aside. We'll need it a little later, but we don't need it right now. While that's drying a second, remember Tuxedo Black, like many of the dark ones, takes an extra beat or two to get dry. Let me show you something really cool to do with the DSP. This is the Sunshine and Rainbows. What I recommend is when you get ready to start making cards with clouds, just go ahead and stamp every single piece, or punch every single piece out. Every piece. No matter if it's at the edge, if it's on the side, just punch them all out. And then I would put them in with my Rainbow of Happiness stamp set. All the extras that you're not going to use on this particular card. And I'm going to tell you what, you can use all of these pieces on a card just by how you stack them up. Okay. So I'm going to do that. And I've already got most of them cut out, so I'm not going to cut all of them because, oh my gosh, you guys will be here until like 9 or worse. It could be worse. It could be tomorrow. But you see the point, okay? So like, let's just look at this one. I'm going to go ahead and cut this one because I want to show you what I'm talking about. I don't know. It's pure luck, Glenda. And it's just a matter of time. I promise. If I don't have ink on it now, I will have ink before we're done. I live in terror. I'm not going to say that I didn't mean to put this embellishment on the sample, but I didn't mean to put this embellishment on the sample. Just throwing that out there, okay? But it was necessary because, yeah, it was either that or start all over, and that wasn't going to work for me. Okay, so look, what I want to show you is on this card, this cloud right here was the same as this. It was already cut for me. So all I did was just decide that that's where it needed to be. All right. And same over here. I was able to get one the same like that. So don't get rid of them. They're all viable clouds. Okay. So throwing that into my little cloud bowl. Now I will go ahead, and I think I'll go ahead and color this right now before I cut it out, because that way I'll have more to hold on to besides just the flower, the kite itself. I am using the Stampin' Right markers. Now, the markers are not going to blend. They're not going to be all realistic looking, but to me, these flowers on a kite don't look like flowers that should be blended like they're some kind of real flower. To me, they look like fun 70s flowers, and the 70s flowers would not have been blended. So that's why I picked Stampin' Right markers instead of blends, because I wanted it to just be a little bit casual and maybe even a little bit, I don't want to say childish because sometimes people take that as a bad thing, but in this case, I mean, kids fly kites. I know adults do too, but kids fly kites. And they're bright and they're fun and they don't bother with the subtleties of shading. You know why? Because they're going to crash and burn them somewhere. Just saying. And then it'll be over. The parents will pay $27.50 for a kite, and 5 minutes later, the kid will be unenamored and or will have crashed the kite. Just saying. Okay, now, one of the downsides, of course, of there not being a punch or dies is that you don't have a punch or dies to get this out, so I'm just going to give it a quick fussy cut. The good news is anybody can do these little straight lines, I can assure you. And because I am backed up on white, the white will disappear and I don't have to do a hard fussy cut. I can just go right, give it an outline as if I had punched it, okay? So there's that. And now is the fun part. Well, I know, but Mary, when we were buying kites, bread was like, what, 5 cents? I mean, come on. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to put my kite kind of where I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be right about there. And I'm going to find some of my clouds here, see which clouds I want to use. I definitely want to use the heart cloud because I like it. So I think maybe that guy can go right there. See how I took advantage of him having a straight edge already? Hello. All right, and then this one can go down here. And then, let's see, what else have I got? What other options have I got? Let's see, do I have a sunshiny one? I like the sunshiny ones. Let me see what I got here. All right, come here, sunshiny one. I'm gonna cut this one out because I want that one right there. Why? I don't know. Don't bother me with the details of why I want it. I just do. I want what I want. Okay, here we go. So I'm cutting that so I can save him. Save the clouds. I like this little design right here. I will say I've never actually seen a cloud with any designs in them. I've seen clouds make designs, but I've never seen any with designs. So again, that puts credence to, yeah, don't bother shading your kite, okay? And then I'm going to put this one like right here. Okay. Yeah, see, I think that's a cute little design. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my sun out. And I am going to, flying high. I see what you did there, Ethel. I'm going to stamp this adorable sun in So Saffron, and I'm going to stamp him right there, okay? So I'm just going to pick up my kite, and then I'm going to know that I'm going to put him like right there, and so I'm going to slide my clouds out the way. I want him to be behind the clouds and behind the kite. Okay, like that. Isn't he so cute? I just touched the ink pad with my finger. That was a close one. That was a close call. That was a close call right there. Okay, so now let's go ahead and adhere our clouds with our liquid glue. Yes, smudges are, they are inevitable. I'm just waiting. All right, and we'll put that little guy right there, like that. And then this little guy will be on the other side, butted up. See, if you play your cards right, let's see, I'm gonna put him up a little bit. If you play your cards right, you don't even have to trim excess cloud. Just saying. Got a little glue right there. I'll fix that in a second. And then I'm gonna put this little guy right there, like that. And then Mr. Kite is gonna go with dimensionals over all of those. And then we're gonna play with the bows a little bit. Gotta cut my little edge. Oh dear, it occurs to me this may be my last strip of dimensionals. Oh no. All right, we'll put the dimensionals on the back of the kite. See, I was never very good at flying kites. I mean, my dad always got the kite going, and I was able to fly it then. We flew kites on the beach in California. That was back in the day when you could just go to the beach, you know, and like park across the street and shuffle over the asphalt running as fast as you could because the asphalt was hot and you were barefoot. Because we had ridden in the front seat of the car standing up with no seatbelt, you know. Mom was going to slam her hand across there if we fell down, if we crashed. All right, so I'm just going to put this like that. Okay, now my last little bit of fussy cuttering. What I did was I used these 2 pieces of DSP and I stamped the tail on, and then I cut 2 of each color. But now I have to, here we go. There we go. Let's see, I know I have a different one somewhere. This is what happened yesterday. I was like looking all over for my kite bows. My kite bows. I don't see any kite bows. Well, you know what? The kite bow is going to show up, but for right now, we may just use what we got. We'll see what we get. Let's do this. Eventually, I'm going to open it up and it's going to be like right there. So I'm going to cut these 2 out so you can see. This is called paper piecing. And it's a relatively easy process, especially with all these little straight cuts. So you just stamp the image that you want. You want something that's got a little bit of an open space on the inside so that you can get the idea that we've used paper instead of an ink marker, which we're going to use on the inside. And then we're just going to cut out the shape. Okay, now one thing I will show you that I like to do when I'm doing this is I'll take a marker. Yes, exactly. Free refills on adhesive would be great. And then I just kind of color to be sure that if I happen to snip a little close, that I've still got a nice line. Okay. And then we'll do, I've already done those 2, I know that. So let me find where I just tossed that other, here, it must be this one. It must be this one. Okay. It is, I found it. Don't panic, y'all. I know you were thinking about panicking. For just a second, you were like, oh my gosh, we've lost a bow. Oh no. Now, on my sample, I used 2 of each of these little colors. But on this one, because I appear to have flipped the other one somewhere, we're going to use 3 Flirty Flamingos and the Magenta Madness. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I am certain it will be fine. I feel confident in the fineness of these bows. Okay. All right. I'm fixing to show you the most persnicketiest and really only persnickety, the only persnickety part of this whole thing is putting little half pieces of mini dimensionals on the back of the bows. But it's so worth it, you guys. It is so worth doing because popping these little dudes on is well, it's priceless. All right, so we're just going to stick that like that. Make sure it doesn't stick out. It does, so we'll fix it in just a second. Now you're thinking, okay, so let's see. Why didn't you do this before we came here? Because, oh my gosh. Next week on Mary's Facebook Live, watch as Mary adds water to Quick Reach and sits and watches it dry. Story 11. Okay, so what I think I'm going to do, since I've got 1 of the Magenta Madnesses and 3 of the Flirty Flamingos, is I'm going to put the Magenta Madness one at the top and the Flirties at the bottom. The bottom 3. And this is a place where your little Twizzlers will really make you happy that you have them. So we're going to set them right over the top of the stamped image and then repeat 3 more times. Yep. Bear with me, people. Bear with me. It'll be worth it, I promise. Well, I mean, you know, it may not be worth it to you, but it'll be worth it to me because I'm going to have a really cute card to send. But now you'll know how to do it, and you'll be able to do it as well. Yeah, that's how that works. You know what they say about, you know, fishing and stuff. Same thing. If you send a person a card, they get a card. But if you teach them how to make a card, they can make a lot of cards. And if you make it so that they can get discounts on stuff to make cards, well, then you're like a miracle worker. And I can do that. I can do that. Yep. I would sit next to my dad. My babysitter would sit on my dad's lap and help drive. Oh my gosh. Gosh, isn't it kind of a miracle that we survived? I mean, now, you know, you got to put the kid in the Kevlar baby seat and, you know, like, how did we survive? Don't drink out of the water hose. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm sure there's even some reason that kids shouldn't put baseball cards in bicycle spokes. There's probably an OSHA rule about that too. It's crazy. We've gotten so delicate. We're such delicate flowers. I'm just yakking to cover up the incredible boredom I'm certain you're feeling. Like, oh my gosh, will it ever end? Will it ever end? No, it won't. Every time you think it's over, she pulls out another little bow. But I promise this is the last one. This is it right here. This is our magenta. This little guy's going to be, he's going, watch this. Hold my beer and watch this. I'm going to be so persnickety, she'll never get me cut. Did you know dimensionals talk? No, they don't. If they do, seek professional help at once. Because there's something seriously going on with you, kid. All right. Whew. Did you think we were never going to get there? I was starting to wonder. Do check that you don't see any of your dimensional, because it's really annoying when you put it on and then you're like, oh. It's a little forgiving because, you know, they're white dimensionals. I mean, I would recommend that you use the white ones on this. They're white dimensionals on white cardstock, so you should be pretty safe. I would think, I don't usually get a bunch on. I get it when I try to cut some things that shouldn't be cut, like stuff with glue. So I've discovered that those little alcohol wipe thingies will kind of get that off as well. And it works on my tweezers too. I get a lot of glue on my tweezers, that's for sure. Okay, now, before you came, I've got some of the classic matte dots that are in the mini, and I took my dark Flirty Flamingo Stampin' Blend, and I colored some little ones and a couple of big ones. So I'm going to put one of the big ones by the sentiment, because once I had to put it there, I kind of liked it anyway. And then I'm going to put one of these in the middle of each little bow, like that. Yes, I know, there's a little bit of a disconnect between me saying it wouldn't have blended flowers, but it would have little pearls on the bows. Yes, I'm certain it would. That makes sense to me in my head. Besides that, I like little pearls, so, you know, it is what it is. Okay, and there, as they say in some industry somewhere, is the card front. Okay, alrighty. Hey, Pam. Now, on another piece of basic white, see, I'm really hanging it out there with the white today. We're going to stamp a second sentiment from Kite Delight in Magenta Madness. Creative license, exactly correct. It's my little kite world. Okay, and this is Wishes for a Carefree Day. You could leave this off if you didn't want it, but I think it's fun. And I'm going to stamp that right in the middle. Preferably right side up. Right side up would be good. Right in the middle, and as straight as I can get it of my basic white inner liner. We'll hold it for a beat. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,004. And pick it up. Good, got a good image. And put this on before we have an inkatastrophe. Okay, and now it's time for, you got it, some more kites. Let's do kites. And because I'm so stinking efficient, I'm going to pull out my envelope and do that at the same time. Because I am nothing if not efficient. Ink that up, and we're just going to run that off of the edge like that. Okay. And then I'm going to put this one. Remember what I said about ink drying a little slower? That actually also applies on your grid paper, okay? So if you stick your envelope over the top of this right now, not saying you will, but you definitely could get some black ink on the back. Now, let's be real here. If I had a little smudge of black ink back here, and I was gonna mail this directly from the house, you know, y'all are gonna unfollow me right now when I say this. I'd probably let that go and then just blame the post office. Because, I mean, seriously, they're just as likely to toss it in the mud and drive over it anyway. But if I was going to, for instance, put this in a little cellophane pack and either sell it, mail it, or give it away, I would absolutely fix that. / do another one. I know. I'm maybe a bad person, possibly. Okay, so now I'm just gonna, oh, well, you know what? Let me do my tails first, just in case I screw it up. There's no reason to have spent the time coloring and then mess up the tails. So do remember, this is an important note. That little bow right there is at the top. The tail is, you know, like down at the bottom, where tails would go. And then you can line it up pretty easily with the bottom of the kite, like that. And we'll do the same over here. You'll notice I'm probably moving out of the camera shot because I'm trying to make sure I don't, I mean, I said I wouldn't worry about it, but I would worry about it. It would be like, oh gosh. There we go. Okay. Now, let's get this dangerous ink pad put away. Whew. Yes, the post office is kind of our scapegoat. I just think it's fair. It's fair. All right, so we're going to do a little coloring, a little more coloring, which in some industries is called watching paint dry. Okay, and we'll bring our envelope. Anybody want to put money on whether I color the wrong parts when I'm trying to do two at once? It's a possibility. I'm just throwing that out there to you. It could happen, Mr. Bill. No, Mr. Grinch. That was the Mr. Grinch song, not the Mr. Bill song. You guys remember Mr. Bill? You old enough for that? Mr. Bill! Mr. Bill! I never really understood that. Oh, who really cared if the little claymation guy got smashed by a giant hand? I really never got that. We all laughed, but I think it was like, they tried so hard to be funny. But we all said, don't lie. Don't say you didn't do it. If you were around at that time, you more than once, when things were going to pot, you'd say, Mr. Bill, Mr. Bill. All those who ever said that, go ahead and just give me a thumbs up. I'll know that you're of the same era as I am. Captain Kangaroo and Mr. Green Jeans. Oh yeah, and Gumby. Gumby and Pokey. They were my favorite. Obviously, Pokey was my favorite. Oh my gosh, you guys, if any of you follow me on Facebook, not the Stamps-N-Lingers one, but just me, I posted the cutest video. Somebody had posted it and I shared it. And it's got this little girl, and I'm going to say she's 3, maybe even 2. And she's got what I'm assuming is a miniature horse foal. And they are walking around in an arena. And those two little things are inseparable. Wherever the little girl goes, that little baby foal follows. Baby foal, that was the Department of Redundancy department. Sorry, Joan. that little baby follows her. And all I could think of was, and that is the beginning. You are watching right there the beginning of the most expensive thing you could teach your kid to love. And also the most useful and keep her out of trouble thing ever. But that was the beginning of the love affair of a girl for her horses. And I'm still trying to get over it. I think my parents kind of hoped I would, but they darn sure kept me out of trouble. You don't have a lot of time for trouble if you go right from school to the stable every single day. You really don't, and stay until, you know, dinner time. And I did that a lot. I'm quite certain that mine were hoping so as well. Maybe not, I don't know. I don't know. They might have, you know, being the perfect angel that I was. Actually, I was the most boring child on the planet. I was a boring little goody two-shoes. Okay, now I'm not going to piece these. I'm just going to color them with the markers because I can. Because it's my card and I can. If you want a piece, you could absolutely piece your card on the inside. I probably wouldn't do that on the front, but if you do, and on this one you'd want to use, obviously you'd want to use liquid glue instead of dimensionals. And see what I just did there? I just colored 2 bows in a row with Magenta Madness. You know why? Because I was yakking. And I thought it would be good to take a breath, and so something had to give, and the order of go of coloring my bows was gone. So this one I've decided is 2 magentas and 2 flirties, just like that. Oh, except you know what I'll do? I'll make it be more fun. I'm just going to color this one magenta as well. Ooh, risky. Okay, there you go. So there's our envelope. We'll go ahead and let's go ahead and put the DSP on so that I can say, and we're done when we get done. Mucking builds character. Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard. I was a little fortunate. I didn't have to muck. We were always at a full board spot. I never had them in the backyard. I wanted them in the backyard. But we didn't really, I guess I probably did muck. There was one period where I mucked stalls when we were staying at the state fairgrounds. I had him at the state fairgrounds. And oh my gosh, our barn, the trainer's barn that I was boarding at, was right across from the cow barn. And so a couple of times a year they'd have the state fair in, and oh my God. Anybody who thinks horse poop stinks, no. Cow poop stinks. Bad. Really bad. Like, bad. Like that. Okay, so there's a little more of the DSP on there, and now we will go ahead and mat this on. Man, that was down memory lane right there. Sorry about that. I do have to say that it did instill in me a love of the smell of a barn. There's just something about when you walk into a barn, and it's really evident like in the winter when the barn is closed up and you open the door and you walk in and you're just hit and you smell horse and dust and hay and shavings, and it's possibly the best smell on the planet. They ought to make a candle with that smell. Ought to make a candle. And then the corollary candle should be pony muzzle scent, because there's nothing that smells like a pony's nose. All right, now I'm going to use a thick basic white card base. We'll put this on the inside. Oh yeah, chickens aren't good either. That's one of the reasons I have never decided to do the backyard chicken thing here, even though I have plenty of room and could. Well, that and the fact that the owls that I love so much would disappoint me by being owls and would probably grab my chickens. And then I'd have just one more thing to cry about. And I'm not doing it. We don't eat enough eggs for that to be a thing. You know what I'm going to do here? I don't love this, so I'm just going to fix this little sentiment right there. Like that. There we go. And then we'll pop the card front on with dimensionals and we'll be done. Dunsket, yep, horse necks are good. Wet horse necks, sweaty wet horse necks smell good. Rain wet horse necks smell like wet rugs. They do. Noses are universally and reliably good smelling. You can always count on a pony's nose to smell good. And my ponies have big old schnoozles. Well, Sarah does. Katie's got a little tiny one. She is channeling her Arabian heritage more than Sarah does. But Sarah's got a big old muzzle, so you can get a big old handful of it and just kiss all over it. Just kiss all over it. Up one side and down the other. And she kind of looks at you like, really? Really? Could we talk about that peppermint that I know is in your pocket? I'd really rather have my peppermint than all these kisses. She's kind of silly. She wants to have her peppermint, and then she goes and spends about 5 minutes licking the salt block. So she's big in the salty and sweet thing. All right, let me be sure I'm not putting this on wrong side down as I'm busy yakking. Oh my gosh, isn't that just so cute? Makes you want to go fly a kite, doesn't it? Oh, I am so happy that I bought this silly little set. I mean, I don't mean silly. I mean, it's like, it's one that you just kind of flipped by. I promise you did. So go back, unflip, and get this. Get Kite Delight. At the same time, bump up your order enough to be sure you've got a good stash of the sunshine and rainbows so that you can make this card. Oh, and don't forget, punch. Actually, let's see, this is 18, 8, you need a little more to get the free paper, but I think you could do it. Buy some cardstock. What? Look. How did I do that? I couldn't do that again if I tried. But I'm going to fix it. I'm going to fix it. I've got one more colored one, and we're just going to put that right there, and maybe they'll think it's a little bird. They'll be like, "Ooh, that must be her signature. Isn't that so cool? Must be her signature. It's her logo." All right. All righty, guys. I appreciate you spending the evening with me, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. See you next week on Thursday for the YouTube Live at 1. Thanks. Bye.